Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. My name is Skip Rutherford, and I'm Dean Emeritus of the Clinton School. And today we celebrate the history and the impact of this program. And before I turn the program over to Vicki, I just want to say that as you look back on this 20 years, Mike, I think of the work of Dr. Alan Sugg, the President Emeritus of the University of Arkansas, who championed this school and was very strong in making it a part of the U of A system. I honor the memory of founding Dean David Pryor, who launched this school and did a fantastic job. I think of the memory of founding academic dean Tom Bruce, who designed a curriculum promoting field service and public service that has led to 3 field service projects, team-based, international, and individual, that thrive 20 years later. I think of the great faculty and staff who have been a part of this program for 20 years and the work that they have done and are doing. And when you look at the high graduation rates, the high career placement rates, and the admission into high-quality graduate, postgraduate programs, their work becomes even more documented. As Nikolai knows, this school couldn't have opened without the administrative work of Diane Kelly Arnoff. She started a school from scratch, and that was very difficult to do. Operationally, it was hard. And then the work of Carol Kordsmeyer, the first chief financial officer of the school, again from scratch, who kept us on budget and, more importantly, in compliance. As I look back and stand in this building and look at that plaque right there, I think of a visit with the late Cindy Miller, who represented the Sturgis Trust. And over a cup of coffee, we were college classmates. I said to her, do you think the Sturgis Trust might be interested in making a grant to turn a former spaghetti warehouse, church, nightclub, storage facility into an educational institution? And Cindy started that ball rolling, and that $4 million grant that we received has made this building wonderful, furnished this building. And then I think of, and grateful to, President Obama and Governor Beebe and the great work of Debbie Schock, who transformed this wonderful building into a LEED energy efficiency building, the oldest LEED building in the state of Arkansas, proving that economic development, education, and the environment could work hand in hand. You look at the concurrent degree programs that attract students like Anna and continue to attract great students. You look at the online program, which expanded us regionally, and nationally, and internationally. And as importantly, when the pandemic hit, the experience that we had in online education was instrumental in turning that program around and letting us operate more effectively and efficiently. So as we look back on 20 great years, specifically, I want to salute the wonderful volunteers that have been a part of this program. When we were doing early research, I think we were the only graduate school in the country that had volunteers. Now, that may not be true right now, but without them and the support that they've given the students, faculty, and staff, been amazing. So as we look back, I think it's also important that we look forward. Former Secretary of Education John Gardner once said that you can't build education like Pharaoh did the pyramids. It has to be created and recreated for each generation. And I think that's what Vicki and her team are doing now, creating and recreating this wonderful, special program for the next generation. So it's my pleasure to have been part of it. And now I would like to welcome Dean Vicki DeFrancesco Soto.
Good afternoon. Before we jump into the panel, I first want to express a very heartfelt thanks to Dean Emeritus Skip Rutherford. The foundation that has been built in terms of training the next generation of public service leaders is one that couldn't have been done without your leadership and your vision. So as I came in and was able to help grow this plant, if we think about the metaphor of a plant or of a tree, it has been an honor and a privilege of mine to do that. And I also want to recognize some guests that we have from the University of Arkansas system, because we are the Clinton School of Public Service at the University of Arkansas. So we are very fortunate to be part of a world-class university system and have the support of folks like President Don Bobbitt, Vice President Michael Moore, and Ben Beaumont. So thank you to all of you here. It takes a village. That'll be my shortcut, because thanking everyone here would take a very long time, but we are here for the community, which is students, faculty, staff, and alumni. And in thinking about this panel and reflecting on, I mean, this is a birthday, the 20th anniversary of the Clinton Presidential Center. I was going back to President Clinton's 1996 DNC speech, where he vowed to build a bridge to the 21st century. Some of you may have the buttons. We did a little retro take on this. And you know, for those who have visited the library, all of you, I know, you see the bridge that the president built in terms of his body of policy and the work that he did. But also post-presidency, we see the explicit physical manifestation of that in terms of our presidential library, but I'm a little biased. And to me, one of the core manifestations of building that bridge to the future is the Clinton School of Public Service. And as I look here at our alum and I look out at our students, this is truly the living bridge and the living legacy of leadership. So in terms of digging into this legacy, into this leadership, I am so fortunate to have with us four alum who truly exemplify the ethos of preparing thinkers and doers. Because you have a lot of schools where you're just sitting around in a classroom and you're thinking. But as Skip alluded to earlier, we really have the pillar of field service. And at the time when the Clinton School was founded, close to 20 years ago, folks thought we were a little crazy. Like, what is this field service stuff? What are you doing? What is this public service degree? We have been proven right. What we've seen is that the field has moved to center public service, and that public service is something that's mobile across sectors, across fields, and that's what we have seen, and I feel so proud that this community really was the pioneer in centering public service. So, I'm gonna stop talking. I wanna hear from our alum who are our thinkers and our doers. And so what I've asked is for each of them to get us started to introduce themselves and tell us about where they are today. So, Anna, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you so much for having us. It's really exciting to be back in Sturgis. I'm Anna Strong. I am the Executive Director of the Arkansas chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics here in the state of Arkansas, in Little Rock to be specific. And I am also celebrating a 20-year anniversary of being in Little Rock, so which is really exciting. I grew up in Searcy. My parents and my husband are here. Yeah, and so I will say I'm also part of the Little Rock School Board. I'm the newest member on the Little Rock School Board, was elected last November, which has been a really exciting addition to my definition of public service.
We're going to hear more about that later.
Hi, good afternoon. It's so good to be back in Little Rock. And, I don't know if you can hear me. Maybe? Okay, this is better. Hi, I'm Michelle Perez, and I'm now a senior program officer at the Walton Family Foundation. It's a relatively new role, and I spent most of my career focused on community development in rural areas in the state of Arkansas. And though it hasn't been a 20-year mark, this is actually the 10th anniversary of me enrolling as a freshman, first-year student at the Clinton School. So it's a big milestone, and it's exciting to look back at all the things that me and my classmates have done over the years.
Okay, this is working. Hello, my name is Sanford Johnson. I am in Clarksdale, Mississippi, so right across the river. I'm the executive director of Teach Plus Mississippi. It's a policy organization where we work with teachers to develop an education system that is rooted in equity, opportunity, and student success. I get to work with an amazing group of teachers who are part of our policy fellowship as well as our change agent network. We're one of 12 regions. There's also a Teach Plus Arkansas where Stacy McAdoo is the executive director, one of my favorite people on the planet. But yeah, I get to work with teachers and get them involved in policy work. So a lot of the lessons from the Clinton School I get to apply every day.
My name is Hunter Riley. I'm from North Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm the CEO and CFO of Schlep, a local logistics business. I founded in Chicago a little over 10 years ago. I transitioned into the private sector as an entrepreneur, prior to which I was at the Pat Tillman Foundation, which was part of my capstone project out in Arizona. And I'm just happy to be home in Arkansas.
I mentioned earlier our field service project. So over a third of our curriculum is field service based, and at least the first year, all of the courses are integrated to support this field service experience. So it's a big deal. But what I wanted to do with the panelists is dig into some of these field service experiences and how did it translate, right? Because I think one thing that's very important is this isn't an internship. I mean, I had internships in college and you fetched coffee. This was before the days of, your computers, so I'd have actual folders that I would take and bring. So talk to us about maybe a highlight of one of your field service experiences and also how that translates into your day-to-day currently. So maybe Sanford, you're in my line of sight. I'm gonna start with you.
Okay, so one experience that really stands out to me was my international service project. I went to Cape Town, South Africa, and I was working for the South African Education and Environment Project. The reason why I was determined to go to South Africa is because I was really interested in education. I think at that point when I started at the Clinton School, I knew that I was going right back to Mississippi. I was going to work in education policy, and I was interested in going to Cape Town because I wanted to know what the education system was like post-apartheid. Because, living in Mississippi, like we're trying to build an education system post-Jim Crow. And I still get to be a part of this work right now because our big question is how do we build an education system on the ruins of a system that was based under this caste system where there were only limited opportunities, especially for students of color? And how do we build an education system where we expose students to every opportunity that they have access to? And how do we make sure that they're prepared for whatever pathway they want to take? And there's some challenges there, which means we have to really understand the history. We need to talk about how history has impacted our current situation and what investments do we need to make in terms of money, in terms of resources and changing curriculum, learning about that history. Like how do we make that change in order to be able to change the trajectory of students? So that was one of the things that I focused on when we were working in the Guguletu Township, trying to figure out, okay, what opportunities are available for students right now, what changes need to be made, and that's exactly what I get to do right now, with a real focus on how do we improve conditions in the Mississippi Delta.
And so I think what struck me about this program when I was first looking at the Clinton School was the intersection of the global with the domestic. because most of your programs that are close cousins to us, your Master's in Public Administration or Public Affairs or Public Policy, you have a domestic track and you have a global track, and they don't intersect. But at the Clinton School, we're making sure that there is a global lens in the toolkit, and that drew me among many other things related to field service. But Michelle, let me ask you same question, but maybe looking at the practicum project, which is the one criteria it has to meet is it has to be Arkansas-based. So you got to do a global project, but then another one that's here at home.
Yeah, my practicum project was working with the Central Arkansas Library System. As I speak, you may notice an accent. I'm originally from Venezuela, and I came to Arkansas for college. And in our project, we were creating a needs assessment of the English as a second language programming that the Central Library offers. That program was impactful on two levels. One was personal, the other one was something that I still apply to this day. Every funder, every organization has directives and strategies that they want to follow. The Central Arkansas Library System did the same in the way that they developed and implemented their ESL program. But as part of that, we also had the opportunity of speaking with people who were taking part in those programs. And as a second language speaker myself, I was able to reflect on my personal experience, but also learn from the needs of the community and how we could align the strategy and the priorities that the organization and its leadership had with the needs of people on the ground that are receiving these services to ensure that the program was truly community-centered and rooted. And that has been something that I carried throughout my career, and I still do today. Like I mentioned, I spent most of my career in community development in very rural areas. As the implementer, I couldn't be seen as somebody coming from the big town, Little Rock, to tell the communities how they needed to change to make their communities better. I needed to walk with the community in the process of them self-discovering what were the strengths, what were the areas of opportunities, and how I could be just a support to them as they implemented those changes. And now, as a funder, I carry those same values as I am now in the philanthropic side. I work for a family-led private philanthropy, and that means that we focus on the priorities and the passions of the Walton family. However, something that is exciting about that is that they also allow us the freedom to ensure that we work closely with the communities we are serving and giving grants for, so that their solutions are truly community-driven. And that has been a core value that started as my practicum and has carried me until today, and happy to say that most of my work is still based here in the state of Arkansas.
Serving, not steering, right? You don't parachute in. And again, another thing that caught my attention when I was first learning about the Clinton School was that communications was a core curriculum. It was part of the core curriculum. And again, I kind of came from that traditional MPP, MPA path, and I'm scratching my head going, why do you need communications? Duh. Now I'm trying to convert everybody to have communications classes as required courses, and I'm looking over here at Dr. Robert Richards, who leads the charge in terms of our communications in our Office of Field Service with Dr. Nicola Driver, because you cannot serve if you don't listen. And so I think that this is something that since day one has been so critical to the Clinton School experience, and that I think is just another facet that makes us exceptional. All right, Anna, I can't help myself. I want to dig in to your new position on the board, on the school district board, because this is a role where public leadership is in full display, the challenges and the opportunities of it. So I wanted you to reflect a little bit on this new position, and also what are lessons learned from the days of the Clinton School that you can bring to the heat of the moment?
Absolutely. I was actually in a meeting right before this talking about two programs coming together for my work. This is my work hat. I do have a lot of hats these days, but we were in a meeting talking about our why and what we do, and I said, you know, I believe that every kid should have a chance to thrive, but that our systems and our policies have to be aligned with that goal. And that really has guided me both in my career and in my journey to the Little Rock School Board. And I will say that those communication lessons I use all the time. I think a lot about framing. I think a lot about how I frame things both in my work as a lobbyist and in my work as a school board member. I think that's really important. But I think that the biggest lesson I would pull forth from the Clinton School is collaboration and cross-sector collaboration. Public education does not mean, and I'm looking at Sanford and all the people in this audience that I know work in that space, it is not just going into a classroom and putting some stuff up on a smart board and expecting the kids to absorb it. There is so much about the microcosm of what we had here at the Clinton School of people who worked in community development and education and health and work supporting people who speak English as a second language and immigrants, and all of those pieces have to come together in this beautiful way to help students succeed. And we also have to have an effective system of governing that, and an effective system of governing a school district and of governing ourselves as a school board. And so that has been a really exciting lesson learned. And I tend to be one of those people who says, if we can get in a room and just hash things out, I feel like we can all find a solution. And the hardest part about school board actually has been that the state's Freedom of Information Act does not allow us to do that. So like you said, everything is truly on display as we are kind of working things out. And so that has been a really wonderful lesson to have learned of facilitating civil discourse, facilitating a way of working with my colleagues in this very public and transparent way to help achieve our shared goals, which are improving outcomes for kids in our state. So, yeah.
Communication.
Communication. It comes back to that.
So, Hunter, you were just describing to me the past couple weeks of your life, right? So Marseille, Paris, I think there's another continent in there, Miami. So this is a lot in terms of work, of your job, of your company, Schlep, right? So I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I'm jealous. I want to hear about all of these travels. But I also want to pose the question to you, why not an MBA, right? Why, you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, why the MPS as opposed to an MBA?
Well, I think it starts with the opportunity that was presented. So as my path has not been so linear and opportunities in front of me, I grasp that, I go to that. And the Clinton School was that example. I didn't actually think I was going to go to grad school, and if I did, it was going to be in international affairs and focused on a diplomatic route. And with the Clinton School, through the 3 projects, which to me were absolutely vital to the learning as much as the classroom work, specifically like working in a team for that first year here in Arkansas and managing 9 people's personalities, to my international public service project in Cameroon with an organization, Peacework, who I still work with, the travels that I am still involved with. I guess you could say I'm pretty loyal. I stay engaged with those organizations. And then my practicum, which was focused at the Pat Tillman Foundation. And at the time, moving out to Arizona and working for an entity that had been formed out of tragedy and really didn't know what it wanted to do, and then gave me the project of forming a scholarship for military veterans. So the skill set I learned there put me in a position in a more entrepreneurial way to apply that to starting my own business. But my travels is how that all came together, Dean Soto, meaning my twin brother has an art gallery. It's just down the street here at 420 Bird called Good Weather. I transport art for him. I still do that. That's the European travels. And tying all that together, maybe just be ADHD, but in a sense, being able to apply my energy, my efforts, and my service focus across the private sector with Schlep, the nonprofit sector with the Pat Tillman Foundation, who I'm still involved with, and Peacework, as well as something that's more, that I'm passionate about because of my family connection, which is the art world. And I think where that all comes together to me is that I love to give. I love to give my time. I love to give my support. And in all of these ways, I've been able to do that, both through my personality, but also through what I've learned in a more focused manner, how to structure that in a project, in an effort, in a company.
So I want to talk good, bad, and ugly. Earlier, we mentioned the fact that the group projects, so I think most folks here know that everybody has to do a first-year group project, and group projects, regardless of what grade you're in or how old you are not fun. Talk to us a little bit about the group dynamic and how that informed your work. I think some of you have already touched on that, so I'll throw this up for anyone who wants to jump in, and you don't have to name names.
Sanford Johnson. Sanford and I are the same class, and we actually didn't have the same project. But honestly, just to speak to that, we did have a group of 9 who was working with the Department of Human and Health Services, and that group went to the Delta, went to Northwest Arkansas, and some were focused here. And I think sitting 9 people in a room trying to come to a conclusion on just like what are we doing to start led to some interesting conversations, especially cross-culturally. We had folks who were from Arkansas and actually understood a little more about what the current care system was provided for mental health for children. That was what we were focused on. And then we had classmates of mine from all over the world who didn't really have stakeholdership as far as where they started from. And I think the most important thing we learned coming from all those different places is, okay, let's identify this end goal and then work towards that.
My practicum project was in Marvel, Arkansas, at the BGA CDC. So yes, Beatrice Shelby, love it. Oh, you were there too? Oh my, BFT. So you had lunch there all the time. It was incredible. So it was an incredible nonprofit organization. And I also had a very similar experience when I was with the SAP in Cape Town, where you had these nonprofit organizations that had been created by these incredible leaders. They were doing a lot of good service in their communities, but the challenge was, how do you make this sustainable? Like, how do you make sure that you have enough money to not only keep the lights on every day, but you can grow and thrive as an organization? I think another challenge was around mission, like figuring out, okay, this is the role that we're gonna play, this is the contribution that we're gonna make in the community. And you don't drift away from that, because sometimes there are grant opportunities, sometimes your funders will shift their focus, so do you need to shift your focus too? Or there may be this new opportunity, but it would cause you to work on something that's really outside of your area of expertise. So do you take that money or not? And then the last part of that, when do you pass the torch? Sometimes, and I think this is a broad conversation around nonprofits, sometimes the leader who was the right person to start an organization might not be the right person to sustain an organization. So when you get to that point, do you know, okay, this is the person who's gonna be the next in line, so let me groom this person and get them ready? Or do you hold on too long and you're gonna end up losing that person? And then you end up with a gap in terms of leadership. So those are some of the things that I noticed, not just with those 2 nonprofits, but as I spent time in the Mississippi Delta, it seems like it's a story that happens over and over again.
Michelle.
Yes. I want to call out, I mentioned that my practicum project had a personal impact, and I didn't say which one it was. And that's when I met my best friend. She's here, Jennifer Guzman. And that was a beautiful thing from that program. We did have our differences and our issues in our project because we had 6 people, and the organization itself was going through a huge leadership shift. And so we were a little lost in the process. We got there at the end. But from that experience, I actually developed a beautiful friendship with Jennifer, who is another outstanding alum of the Clinton School, doing incredible things and developing strategy for public health issues around the country. And that was a highlight of my project.
I just want to make one comment, is that I do see Maggie here. She was on a practicum team with me. I was the practicum supervisor a couple years, I guess, after graduating, and I got to blow y'all's practicum up by quitting in the middle of your practicum. So I just want to say that what goes around comes around a little bit. I think my practicum team actually kind of did get a divorce. But we got back together. We're all friends now. You know, it's good. We were working.
Joint custody?
Yes. We ended up with joint custody over kind of 3 different projects, but it was good. It was fun.
Well, and I think I wanted to highlight the messiness. There's the messiness of the group dynamic. Group work is hard, but you have to do it. And then also, we're working with organizations that many times are facing challenges themselves. So we're very much throwing you current students into the deep end of the pool. We threw you into the deep end of the pool as well. But I think that is what I believe so strongly in, is that you learn by doing and those core skills. All right, we're about the halfway mark. I do want to leave time for some questions. I have a couple of more questions I want to get to, but before I turn it over, Michelle, I wanted to talk to you about underserved communities, especially here in Arkansas. So you started working with these target populations, both from different racial and ethnic backgrounds as well as rural. Here at the Clinton School, you continued that work at Winrock, now at the Walton Foundation. Tell me about kind of the status of the support system for these underserved communities and how we can be doing more as the Clinton School to help support these entities and train our students to do so. That was a very long question, so apologies.
Yeah, I'll try. One, I think the support is still very much needed. Because of a lot of the issues that Sanford actually mentioned, especially in the Delta, when we have where we have food deserts, we have health services deserts, we have populations that have the worst outcomes in terms of health and life expectancy in the whole nation, right here, just a couple of hours from Little Rock. And so the support is definitely needed. And I think something that I hold with a lot of value is the opportunity that the Clinton School helped me to have to prepare to be in these communities with humility, of understanding that I am not the expert on any of these issues or in their experiences, but also in the humility to understand that these are places that still matter. And recognizing that, I think it's something that I would, challenge the Clinton School students to think about, and that they matter not just for the well-being of our state, but truly for the sustainability of our democracy, and how we show up in those communities, and how, if we're going to be working in community development or in economic development in these areas, how we show up can really transform culture and the lives of people. And so I think coming with an open mind, remembering that the community is the expert on their own community, is something that the Clinton School can continue to do. I think you're doing a great job at that. So that's something that you can continue doing to support these communities.
If I can add one thing to that, and I love that. Building trust is very important when you go into communities. And I think how you show up. One thing that I've often said to TFA corps members, I was in TFA in the Mississippi Delta, and one thing that I've often said when people enter the community is make sure that you wear a jersey and not a cape. And what I mean by that is that you're not here to save a community. If you come in with that kind of attitude, you are not going to be able to build the trust. You're not going to be able to build the community. But if you come in and say, let me find out what's happening, and then find out how can I contribute to the team? How can I contribute to what's already going on? And I think my big push to everybody, because I'm always trying to recruit people to come to the Delta, like anything that you want to do, like after the Clinton School, needs to be done somewhere in the Delta, like whether it's the Arkansas Delta or the Mississippi Delta. So if you're somebody who's interested in building something, if you want to start a nonprofit, if you want to start a business, if you want to start a new initiative, the Delta may be a great place to do that. Think about Helena, think about Lake Village, think about Clarksdale, think about Clarksdale again, think about Clarksdale 3 times.
Helena,
Think about Helena, wonderful place. Clarksdale is great too, but it is a fertile place. Like the soil is very rich there. If you plant it, it's going to grow. And I think you can say that for corn, you can say that for soybeans, you can also say that for organizations too. So that's my pitch. That's not the only time I'm going to recruit you to the Delta, so just know that.
Capstone ideas, anyone?
Come on.
I want to ask one last question before we turn it over. We have a couple of students here. What advice would you give our Clinton School students, or version 2, what advice would you give the, 10-year younger version of yourself before coming to the Clinton School? Hunter, I'm going to start with you at the bottom there.
I was a baby when I started here, so the 10-year younger.
All right, a little extra plus.
Okay. No, so I probably would have come in with more of a plan, actually. And I think I say that listening to Sanford, who's like, I came here, I knew I was going to go back to Mississippi, and he's focused on education. I think you see the travel you witness within my own personal life is because I still have this idea that I will end up in that diplomatic world somehow, but still I'm focused on what I'm focused on now. And had I come into the Clinton School with a little more of an idea of how to leverage this MPS into something, I would have maybe been a little less all over the place. That said, I wouldn't have done it any other way. I think that the opportunities that were presented here to get my hands dirty, and it's seriously dirty. Like in Cameroon, the project I worked on was it was a soccer-based project, but I played in 8 different communities, built a soccer tournament, but focused all the extra time with the kids on climate change education, HIV/AIDS education, and so on and so forth, using soccer as a platform to bring them together. And then, figuratively getting my hands dirty, like digging into an organization and learning how to build something from the ground up, which I had done in our classwork with the first and second semester at the Clinton School. So, taking the opportunities and melding that with, molding that with what you may be interested in is probably the best plan for those of you who are current students and understanding where you want to take that once you do graduate.
I was going to jump in. My advice to current students. So I also didn't really come in with a plan. Like I didn't come here with a plan knowing, I knew I wanted to maybe do something in the health space, and I ended up doing the joint public health degree. And I spent the summer in India for my international project and really loved working there and learning about, I went to worked with a group called the Comprehensive Rural Health Project in Jamkhed, India. And it was, there were so many parallels to working in rural Arkansas but they approached improving health through a community development lens and really worked very holistically to work on what I would now call social determinants of health, work to address social determinants of health to improve health, but also improved healthcare services access. But the really, truly transformational piece of my work here was in working with Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families for my capstone project. And I also had a separate, my MPH, I had a legislative internship there as well that was concurrent but separate from my capstone project. So I was both going to the Capitol and learning how the policy process worked, getting to meet people there that are now still my colleagues. I was also going out into communities across Arkansas and doing interviews about school-based health, which was the focus of my capstone, about school-based health centers. And I really, the part of that work that got me out in the community, that let me interview people just because I was doing a project, those people have been pivotal connections in my career and have been incredibly helpful people that I have called on, that have called on me, and it's been a really wonderful relationship to have evolved and developed over the years. So my advice would be get out of your comfort zone, get out of an office, meet people, have a project that builds your network. I know Dean Rutherford's over here. I got to work on the Natural Wonders Partnership Council and really do a statewide needs assessment of children's health as part of that work. And it was just such powerful connecting that really led me to a career that I can, to work in the public policy space here in Arkansas. So that's my advice. Get out and about and meet people, and don't be afraid to admit what you don't know. I think that was kind of something that we all probably experienced, a bit of humility in our practicum project, because they throw you in day 5, and you haven't even learned how to do a needs assessment in Dr. Bavon's class yet. And I remember asking him on the first week of school, we had read this thing about a project failing in a community because they didn't ask the community what they wanted and needed. And I was like, but if you spend all your time asking people what they need, how do you ever get anything done? And I think about that a lot, actually, Dr. Pavon, because you're like, it takes time. Community change takes time. So I blabbered a little bit there, but yeah, get out and about, and don't be afraid to take the time you want to make the change that you believe in.
And listen to Dr. Pavon.
Always.
Definitely listen to Dr. Bavon.
I think piggybacking on Anna, I would consider myself somewhat of an introvert, even though I'm here right now. But really leveraging the connections that you have because of where you are in this school and the legacy that we are following is critical. The way I got my first job was through a connection that was a classmate of mine, and Dean Rutherford pointed me to and said, why don't you talk to her? Her husband is doing this. And that's how I got my first job. And so you never know who your classmates, your professors, the dean will be connected to that can help you in your career. And also, public service at first may feel very ethereal. How do I apply this? But the skills you are building are really transferable. I use them every day, and I'm sure you will say the same as a business owner. So don't be afraid to explore those fields that don't seem public service defined as public service.
So this year we enrolled class 20. Right? It's our 20th class. And we now have close to 700 alumni. And the beauty of this is that a lot of the learning is now going to be coming from the alumni community. I'll share, and we'll make a more public announcement, but that we're going to be creating an alumni mentorship program. We're going to pilot one where we're helping current students do mock interviews. But as I'm looking at all of you here and some of our alum in the audience, you are a source of one of our greatest strengths here. So I think that this is what I'm really excited about as the Clinton School looks to its next 20 years. We were a baby, right? We started from scratch. That in and of itself is incredible. We're one of only 5 presidential graduate institutions, and now we have a community that we can look to for guidance in addition to kind of what you think of as the core curriculum and the field service projects, but this whole other layer that makes me so proud. And I'm very thankful to Mallory Mounts, who is our Director of Alumni Relations. So with that, I think I want to open it up. Questions, comments, reflections, especially for those of you who were here when the Clinton School was founded. And Bob is going to hand the mic.
Don't jump to the mic.
All right. I can either pick on people. Okay, good, Durand, or keep going.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys all for speaking. My question is, how did the Clinton School really accelerate your career? And so when you're applying for those jobs, what did people say about the Clinton School? How did you describe it? And how do you feel like it helps you get a leg up on some of your peers?
I just want to say I don't really feel like I've ever applied for a job, and maybe that is part of this work, right? I feel like every job that I've had has kind of been a conversation. I didn't go to Indeed.com. I mean, granted, this is probably dating me. I don't know if that existed then. But in 2011, I did not go to Indeed.com and apply for a job. The public service work gives you the opportunity to prove yourself. Be strategic about how you use that, and it will be a lever that you can pull to help you have an inroad.
Yeah, I don't think it's one size fits all, and for me as well, my capstone project is what led to my first job, and I did, I guess, a good enough job for when I handed it in to the organization. They called me and said, actually, we're hiring for the director of programs. we have 70 applications on our desk. Would you just come and do it? And then I was like, okay, how about? And I said this amount of money, and they're like, yeah. It's like, oh, that was an easy negotiation. And so I moved to Arizona. It ended up being 4 years, and then every opportunity since then has actually been a spin-off from that.
My linebacker coach in high school told me if you could hit, a position will find you. And I think the Clinton School will teach you how to hit. Like, you'll learn how to play, and those opportunities will come. I was in Cape Town when I got a message saying, hey, we got our money to start Mississippi First. So, oh, great. So a job is lined up. And then with Teach Plus, there was a conversation about, hey, we're going to restart Teach Plus with a focus on the Delta. And all I did was just say, hey, if you're coming, this is what you need to know. And just rattled off, like, this is what it needs to look like. And then the conversation came, hey, we're going to apply for this money. If we get it, we want to hire you. So that's exactly how it worked out. So the relationships that you're going to build, the opportunities that you're going to have are going to open up opportunities that you may not even know about right now. And that's going to give you a leg up because the opportunities are going to come for you. You're going to be the opportunity that they're going to be looking for.
One more thing, I would say again, the context that you have, and also just the brand that the school has. The school has a very strong reputation and a very strong brand. It's not common to say I'm a graduate of the Clinton School of Public Service. Everybody will recognize that name immediately. And because of, like I mentioned, public service may be hard to describe, but you can describe the skills and the work you did in your field work. And like Vicky said, those are not internships, and employers recognize it as not internships. They recognize it as professional experience. So you can describe that work as true professional experience, and it goes a long way.
So if I could add to that, Durand, is when I'm out and about, people ask me, do you have recent graduates or alumni? I'm hiring. I'm not going to name names, but some very prestigious, well-placed institutions throughout the state. I also get asked about for government positions, for the federal government. So we have this reputation, and it's one of my favorite things in the world to be able to be that ambassador. And I know I speak for Skip as well, where people will come to you and say, I need to find a dynamic person who can run this shop. And this is something that we keep creating and cultivating, and only more so with this network that we have.
Yeah, and I think while someone else is waiting to ask a question, so raise your hand so the mic can get to you. I think the word that I've heard thrown around a lot here is collaboration, and I think in this political environment that we're in today, that's something super unique about the 30 classmates that we had. We all didn't think the same way, but we had to learn to work together. We had to learn to sit in a classroom together. We even, at the time when we were here, so many people from outside the state, we learned how to socialize together, and that was across age gaps, gender gaps, just backgrounds. And I think ultimately that was the getting to know each other led to an idea of and a value of collaborating that you don't see that often when people come into a meeting room.
And I just want to also, I want to echo something you said earlier about meeting your best friend here. The Clintons, in some ways, it felt like, as a person who's from Arkansas and is still in Arkansas, it's my home, and it felt like the world kind of came here. It felt a little bit like the world came to Little Rock, Arkansas. And that was beautiful, and I love that I have been to Nepal to go with a friend, with Julie West, who, I don't know if she's watching or not, but with Julie West, we went to Nepal. I went to Tanzania to see Kate Ram, who are all these people who are working around the world. I have friends and fellow classmates around the world, and that group of Clinton School alumni is tight, and I think that is something really powerful too. So I just want to say that meeting your people and like finding your people and who you want to be in the world is a thing that happens here. So.
Maggie.
I just have a quick response for Anna. My practicum team loved having you as a boss. And when you left, if nothing else, it was cool to see that an alum from the Clinton School was so in demand You had so many jobs. So it was actually very exciting for us to see, and we were happy for you. So anyway.
Thank you. Y'all were great. And it has been, you didn't ask us about working with Clinton School students, but I have worked with multiple, I currently work with a Clinton School grad. I did in my last job as well with multiple Clinton School grads, and have had teams of practicum and capstone students. And that has been wonderful to be able to kind of help grow the next generation too. And also had one as a boss too. I see Dr. Gary Wheeler here, are you class two? Two. Who was the board chair of the Arkansas chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics when I came on board. So,
Jenna, I see your hand back there.
So, in your current professional experience, but also being alum of the Clinton School, whether you are hiring yourself or working closely with someone who is hiring in your organizations, what would you say are key professional skills that you are looking for in hiring anyone, but mostly within the Clinton School?
I mean, I'm always hiring, but it is usually for a $24 an hour heavy lifting job. So I'm looking for strength. I'm looking for driving skills. But no, seriously, in the more strategic salaried positions, the first thing I look for is attention to detail, and that's just something I cherish for myself. As far as like literally wanting to dig into the specifics of your job. In line with that is curiosity. I think the easiest way to learn is to ask questions and to have a sense of curiosity going into any job, especially if it's new to you, and the field may be new to you as well, is just ask those questions. And the final one is positive attitude. I'm such an optimist, and I think positivity is important across all levels of an organization. And that could be shown in different ways. It could be a smile on your face. It could just mean you have a problem-solving type of mentality, which is a positive mindset.
So I think the requirements for working at Teacher Plus are very similar to being a policy fellow. So communication skills are very important, from talking to parents, talking to teachers, talking to policymakers. Are you willing to do that? I think also having a solutions-oriented mindset. So it's not just to say this is a problem that I see, but this is a problem, and here are the possible solutions. These are the things that I'm thinking about. These are the things I may be interested in researching. I also think because I not only live in Mississippi, but also live in the Mississippi Delta, you need to come at that work with a hopeful mindset. Like, there are certain parts of the state, there are certain parts of the country that get written off as hopeless. And if you come in with that kind of attitude, that's a red flag to me. Like, this ain't for you. So, like, being able to put all three of those things together are those are the type of people I want to work with, and those are the type of folks that I want to work with through the policy fellowship.
Attention to detail, it'll carry you through life. Just, yes. And I think the way you communicate your ability to work collaboratively, but also by yourself, is very important. I have actually hired Clinton School students when I worked at Windrock International, and some of my favorite colleagues. And something that they demonstrated was that ability to work collaboratively, but on your own, and attention to detail.
One thing that I have definitely used Clinton School alumni to do in past jobs too is to really be able to facilitate conversations and to facilitate collaboration. And that it takes a special skill to do that, especially in the world, I mean, I don't even like to talk about the pandemic, but during that time where we really just, everything is happening virtually, really, I like interview for like, do you know liberating structures, even though we didn't really do that when I was here yet. It wasn't really a thing yet. But how do you creatively engage people in conversation? That is something really important to me, and you can really get that from somebody, I think, in an interview if you demonstrate it. So,
Attention to detail, hope, positivity, collaboration. I mean, these are the skills that we infuse, that I am so proud of the school infusing in our community and our students. I think this is a community-wide vision that we share. Before I hand it over to my colleague, Dr. Jay Barth, to close us out, I wanted to do a lightning round. One word that describes the Clinton School? Hunter.
I can say more than one word, right?
One.
Okay.
No, lightning round.
Lightning round.
One.
Sanford.
I would say empowerment.
I'm usually ready to have a word, but I'm thinking.
I'm going to go with change maker.
Compound word, fine.
Hope. Yeah.
Yeah, I think service. I mean, it is in the name, but it's service-hearted.
Well, so thankful to each of you for being here, and so thankful to your work, to your impact, to your belief, to your positivity, even in dark hours. As we wrap up today, our director of the Clinton Presidential Library, Dr. Jay Barth, is going to close us out. And I just want to say a special note of thanks to Jay and to Stephanie Street, who is not here, the executive director of the Clinton Foundation. We have something really, really special here. There are only 2 other presidential schools that are also on a campus with a presidential library and the foundation. I've been at one of them, to remain nameless, and I know the other one pretty well too, and they're fantastic, but the energy and the collaborative spirit that we have here at the Clinton Presidential Center is truly unique, and I think what makes us stand out and what enriches the larger community of the Clinton School, of having the foundation and the Presidential Library, and it's just a joy to get to work with you, Jay, and with Stephanie. So without further ado, Jay.
Great. Thank you, Vicki, and thanks for your friendship and your collegiality, but thanks for leading a fantastic conversation today with 4 wonderful alums of this place. And I was part of the inaugural faculty at the Clinton School, and it was really one of the great joys of my professional life, because those of us who are academics, we come into an institution that's already built in most cases, and we have to figure out our place in that. This was an opportunity to build a place from scratch, and Mike Hemphill was part of that team. It was a truly fantastic group of people, and we made some mistakes that have been fixed, but what's exciting is a lot of the core elements that were originally built into that plan are still the core elements of the Clinton School of Public Service, and so that has been a real ongoing satisfaction. But the bigger satisfaction has been the opportunity to work with so many Clinton School students in those our first years in the classroom and in the field, but over the years in so many other public service opportunities. And there is a spirit among Clinton School students that is truly distinctive and it brings a great joy to the public service work that I've been involved in. And public service work ultimately has to be about joy, because it's about changing people's lives in a positive direction. So thank you all of y'all for the great conversation today. Thank all of you who've been involved with the Clinton School over the years for your work. We're glad you're here. We can't wait to see you back here at the Clinton Presidential Center. See you soon. Thank you.